Okay. Um, Talk about this class for a second. And sort of why this class. Sort of what you can get out of this class. How many of you plan to go into history or government, something related to that one day? Nobody. Not one of you. Hey, it's cool. No offense. How many of you think you'll use history or government in your daily life at some point in time in your career? Okay, good. You were paying attention last week when we did that thing where almost everything in some weird way relates back to government. But even that, I think there are 4 things you can take from this class, even if you're not going into government, even if you want nothing to do with government later on in your life. No matter what you go into, there are 4 things that you will take away from this class, if you're putting in the effort, that will help you in your career no matter what you do. Number 1, public speaking. I can already tell many of you are like me in high school. Me in high school, I was the kid, I got B's on my tests and stuff. And I wanted to sit in the back of the room. I didn't want anybody to call on me. I just wanted to mind my own business and leave me alone. But what I found is that doesn't help prepare you for the future. See, no matter what you go into, no matter what type of job, no matter what type of business you go into, public speaking is going to be a big part of what you do. You might not have to get up in front of a room and make a presentation, but you got to communicate with people no matter what you go into. And if you can't communicate with people, you're going to struggle. So why don't you use school as a training ground? If you're shy, if you're quiet, if you're not good at public speaking, if you're nervous with public speaking, try raising your hand a couple times in class. This is the area to practice and get good at something that you're not so good at. Remember, we talked about the purpose of school is to catch you up on the racetrack, to catch you up on the most valuable skills necessary to be successful in the world of tomorrow. And one of those skills is public speaking. One of those skills is being able to talk and interact with people. Honestly, the reports that I'm reading say that businesses want to hire people who are good public speakers more now than ever before. And yet every statistic shows that with the advent of computers and cell phones and online, we tend to do less and less talking than we've ever done before. And so it makes somebody who is a good public speaker a rare talent. Treat school like a sport. School is like a sport. Public speaking is like a sport. You got to practice at it. You got to work at it. You're not just born good or bad at public speaking. You got to work at it. Man, I hated public speaking when I was in high school. I hated it in college. Even when I started teaching, I was a little nervous to get in front of a room full of people. And, my first day, I'm like, wait, I'm in charge. I'm alone. There's nobody here. I got to talk. It made me really nervous. But at the end of the day, this is the kind of stuff that helps prepare you for life. So skill number 1 that I hope you take away from this class is you learn to be a good public speaker. Skill number 2, reading. Reading is just like a sport. It's just like anything else. You got to work hard at it. You're not born a good or bad reader. You get good or bad at reading by working at it, by practicing. If you're not a reader, read more. If you're a slow reader, read more. And the more you read, the more you'll build your vocabulary, the more you'll build those habits in your brain, and the better you'll become at it. Good readers tend to be people who work at it a lot. They read. And I know it's a circular problem, right? You don't like to read because you're not good at it, but you're not good at it because you never try it, right? When I started playing hockey, I wasn't very good at taking a slap shot because I never did. I never practiced, never tried it. And if I've never done it before, it's hard to be good at something. You're not born good or bad at something. You got to put in the effort. You got to work hard to get there. And so the more you read, the more you think about what you're reading, the better off you'll be no matter what you go into. Because good luck finding a job where you don't have to read at least some parts of your job, some parts of your life. The third skill that you'll take away from this class, hopefully, is to be a better writer. No matter what you go into, you're going to have to write, whether it's just a dinky email, whether it's a proposal. Not everybody's going to be writing a book. Not everybody's going to write every single day of their life, but writing is a form of communication, and if you can't communicate with people, you're not going to be very successful. I have a buddy, he's brilliant. He's a cook. He's a chef. He wants to open his own business. He is probably one of the best chefs I've ever met in my life. He is an amazing cook. He's amazing at what he does. But the problem that he and his wife have is that they're not rich. They can't afford to open a restaurant on their own. And so he needs somebody to fund him. He needs somebody to buy into his idea, into his vision of starting his own business. But in order to get somebody to buy in, he's got to convince them to meet with him first. And his biggest weakness is he's a poor writer. He's not very good at putting stuff down onto a sheet of paper what he wants to do. Now when he actually does it, he executes perfect. He's awesome at what he does. But trying to convince somebody who's got a lot of money to let him use some of that money to start a business, he's really struggling right now because he doesn't have that skill. He is not a very good writer, and it's impacting him. Trying to get a job, I mean any kind of job. When you fill out an application, the first thing that people start to chuck out is if you don't write well. When I applied to do my student teaching, eventually when I was accepted, the teacher I did my student teaching with said, "Hey, did you ever want to know why we picked you and not somebody else?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, the first thing we did is we looked at your essay. Out of the 10 essays we received, yours was the only one that didn't have any spelling or grammatical mistakes." So, God, man, right? Probably writing too fast or talking, who knows? Whatever the reason, no pun intended, right? Whatever the reason for me doing that is, nobody really cares, right? It's just if you're reading my application and I got a lot of words that are misspelled and a lot of things that just don't look right, people judge you based on it. Every step you take, every move you make, everything you do, people are judging you. And so becoming a better writer will help you. But probably even more important than public speaking, reading, or writing, the one skill that I hope you take away from this class is critical thinking. I hope you learn to think about the world around you. I hope you think about the decisions that are made around you, the decisions that impact you. I hope you don't just write down everything I say and memorize it. Because if you do, you're missing part of the game. You're missing part of what makes school important. There are so many classes out there where you're just asked to memorize stuff, and you're never able to work with it. One of my big failures in life was Spanish class. I always struggled with Spanish when I was in high school. One of the reasons why I struggled with Spanish is I was a really good memorizer. For me, my high school career was memorizing a lot of stuff. I could sit there the night before, I could memorize stuff, and then I could take a test, I could fill out stuff, and then I'd forget it the next day. But it turns out when I had Spanish class, it wasn't just about memorization. It was about critically thinking and processing. It was about making sentences and conjugating verbs. And when it came to doing all that stuff, I really wasn't learning the material. I was just memorizing the material and spitting it back. And so I hope that throughout the course of this class you think critically about what I say. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I encourage you to get involved. I encourage you to question, to ask questions, to look for examples, to think about what I say. Because, hey, I'm not always right, and I don't always have the best idea. I want, when you walk away from this class, I want you to be a critical thinker. I want you to think about the world that you're in and the impact that that has on you. Any questions? All right.